Sorry about that, folks. Had to do a little bit of self-promotion before I came on the stream. You know how it is with a one-man band. Good morning! How are you out there in internet land? Hi, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to Front Porch Brunch. I got all my shows confused. Front Porch Brunch, where we get together on the weekends. We talk about some items in the news that maybe we haven't had the chance to talk about during the week, or maybe they've just popped up and we really need to get into them. We are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. We are on that quaint little alternative social media platform called YouTube. So wherever you are out there, please send out a getter, a tweet, a gab, a truth social, Facebook post, wherever you are. Send out the link. Tell your friends to come on in. Let's get together. Let's hang out this morning and let's talk. Can't wait to get a good bunch of people on here and we get into all kinds of discussions of all kinds of things, because you never quite know what's going to pop up for a session of brunch. Now, you might expect as your host, I come prepared to bring you what I've got. But then again, someone will drop something in every so often, and it's like, ooh, we need to talk about this. So let's do that. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Glad to have all of you here this morning for this weekend session of Front Porch Brunch. Brunch is that wonderful little time of the day when not quite lunch, not quite breakfast, but it's definitely something that we need to get together and hang out. And, you know, you're probably right. You're probably right about this, Zippy. But I have a reason for calling it the quaint little alternative social media platform, and I will explain that momentarily. Anyway, hope you guys are doing good this morning. I'm glad to see all you guys. We've got a nice little crowd that's starting to gather in. So yeah, like I say, tell all your friends we are here to talk about the news. Let's hang out. Let's drink some coffee. Drink a mimosa if you're in the mood to do so. Or where is Leanne anyway? She needs to be pouring drinks at this point. What's the matter with that crazy woman? Daggone, I might be revoking her status as bartender on the porch. We'll see. We will see. Anyway, glad to have y'all here this morning. Let's get together. Let's talk. So, interesting. Okay. Very interesting indeed. Let's see who all. We've got WWG1, good morning on Rumble. Glad to have you here. Let's see who else is here. Gypsy, glad to have you here. Let's see who else is in the house. We'll get some more in here. There's quite a few hanging out with us. Now, I need to kind of explain this quaint little alternative social media platform comment that I'm making about YouTube these days. And if y'all know anything about me, or you spent any amount of time around my channel, y'all know that I am a child of talk radio. Occasionally I get asked by people, how do you do what you do? And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Well, they're like, well, you seem to have kind of, you seem to do fairly well. It seems to flow naturally from what you're doing. I'm like, well, I have no idea how I do what I do, except for this. If you hear certain elements in my style or presentation or what have you, well, let's just be honest about it. I am a child of talk radio. I mean, from probably my late teenage years on, I've been listening to the late Rush Limbaugh or the late G. Gordon Liddy or Ken Hamblin or any number of different people out in social media, or I should say talk radio. And it wasn't until the mid or the latter 90s when they started introducing the internet into what they were doing. Well, as I say, one of my influences in doing this is the late G. Gordon Liddy, who among his other things that he's very well known for is the fact that in the latter part of his life, he became a radio talk show host. Very successful, by the way, nationally syndicated across the country. And he would do a section of his show, and his show ran about 4 hours every day. He would do a section of his show called Review and Comment on the News. And he would read various news stories or various columnists. But he always made it a point that when it came to the Washington Post, he would refer to it as that quaint little alternative newspaper, the Washington, and then he'd have his producer, put a because he wouldn't even want to utter their name. Now, you have to understand the background to that. G. Gordon Liddy was an old Richard Nixon man. Okay, he was an FBI agent. He was one of the famous individuals that led the Watergate break-in. Okay, so there's no great love lost, but there was no great love lost between G. Gordon Liddy and the Washington Post. So that's why he would always refer to the Post as that quaint little alternative newspaper, the Washington Bleep. Well, in my case, I sort of feel the same way about YouTube. Now, I know what a lot of you out there may be thinking. You might be thinking to yourself, man, it's the biggest platform on the planet. It's got the most reach. It's got this. Yeah, but it's quaint and alternative for me in this respect. It doesn't respect free speech, unlike its counterparts, Rumble, Odyssey, Rockfin, etc. Those platforms may not yet be as big as YouTube, but the day is coming when they will be. And in large part, it will happen for two reasons. One, other people are going to discover that there are other alternatives to YouTube. But more importantly, when they discover those alternatives, they're going to come to find out that that Rumble, Rockfin, Odyssey respect free speech. They will let you have more freedom to talk about the things you want to talk about. So, yeah, so that's why I refer to YouTube as that quaint little alternative social media platform. That's why. One is an homage to one of my influences, the late G. Gordon Liddy, and the other is to just make a comment about YouTube in general. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a dig. It is a little bit of a dig, you know. It's a little bit of a dig on YouTube because they are quaint. The idea that free speech gets to be censored by the social media platform, to me, is an idea that is antiquated. It's absurd. And if it's not antiquated, it ought to be put on the dustbin of history as far as intellectual ideas are concerned. Okay? So that's what's going on there. Anyhow, welcome, as always, to Front Porch Brunch, our weekend gathering where we get together and talk about some things in the news. And as usual, it's been a crazy week. Now, we're not necessarily going to go over things we've already talked about, although we could, as they are worthy of even more commentary than I've been able to give them at this point. But I want to take this session of brunch and kind of talk about some things I haven't had a chance to get to yet. As you all are well aware, Thursday night I wasn't able to stream because of a family event. And so Friday we got in a brief stream last night to talk about some big items. But there's some things going on that I definitely want to take a moment to get into. So if you're out there and you haven't done it yet, if you wouldn't mind, send out a tweet, a Getter, a Gab, a Truth Social. Tell your friends to come on in. Let's get into some of this stuff. And one of the things that I want to get into this morning. Oh, wait, before I do that, there is an update. There is an update to a story that we talked about last night. Now, there is, and I'll briefly go over this. There is a great raging debate right now about Joe Biden's physical ability to have control over his person. It is rumored that he possibly had an accident on himself during the Normandy D-Day ceremonies on June the 6th. Now, I personally don't think it happened, but the body language, the everything else, and all the previous stuff with Biden has made people wonder, okay, maybe he was reaching for a chair. Maybe he was having an accident. We don't really know. Well, there is an update to that story, and it turns out that the White House is now going to take steps to make sure that that if, God forbid, Joe Biden were to soil himself, that, the problem gets resolved fairly quickly to the point that no one's even going to notice. As a matter of fact, this is a breaking story in one of the most important news outlets in the world. The Babylon Bee's headline, Biden administration hires NASCAR pit crew to rapidly change Biden's diaper without anyone noticing. Now, I'll tell you what. Look, say what you want to, but the guys at NASCAR are fast. You've heard that Jimmy John's commercial, how fast? They're Jimmy John's fast. Well, the NASCAR pit crew guys, they can have 4 tires and gasoline put into a car inside of about 14 seconds. Look, if they can do that with a car, imagine what they can do with changing Biden's diaper. I mean, my God, they might be able to do it in less than 10 seconds. You mean throw in a little talcum powder down there or something. I don't know. But yeah, apparently the White House, they're now on top of this. So no problem. If Biden, God forbid, were to soil himself in the future, well, there's a crew of guys. I guess they're going to be like plain clothes. I mean, they obviously won't be in these uniforms, as you can see, but they'll be plain clothes. They'll be there, and 10 seconds or less, Biden is changed out. If they can do it, if they can put 4 tires and gasoline in a car in 14 seconds, odds are they can take care of Biden's diaper in less than 10. So there you go. Folks, we have nothing else to worry about on the world stage. Our president, if he does soil himself, it's all taken care of. That's the good news I bring you. And I roll my eyes very facetiously. Okay. And people think that I don't have a sense of humor. What the hell are you talking about? Darling, you may be right. Maybe they need to wear hazmat suits. I don't know. You might be. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. I don't know. Anywho, let's get into first big topic of the morning that I want to talk about. And that is the interview that Donald Trump did with Dr. Phil. Now, I've got a whole bunch of thoughts about this thing, and we've got various clips lined up for you guys to listen to. Because this interview, at least to my mind, is different than most anything I've ever seen Donald Trump do. And I think that owes in large part to the person doing the interview. I mean, look, let's be honest. For the past 9 years, or frankly, even longer than that, even before Donald Trump got into politics, there's sort of a certain, how do I want to phrase this? There's sort of a certain expectation that you get with a Donald Trump interview because the interviewer, more often than not, is either a political reporter or a political commentator, or, maybe not so much. And this is before he got into politics. I mean, he would do interviews with Oprah or Charlie Rose or whatever else. And you just sort of know what you would get. I got a chance to watch this interview last night, and I got to say there are some elements to it that to me are different than what you might get in a standard Donald Trump interview. And here's what I'm getting at. Now, look, Donald Trump is very good at a lot of things when it comes to communication. One of them is, if he has certain points he wants to emphasize, he will get them in. Okay? There are certain phrases that you will almost always hear these days in a Donald Trump interview. They're emptying out their jails. We've got millions of people crossing the border. And I'm not saying these points aren't necessarily true. I'm just saying you are going to hear them from Donald Trump. He will get them in during his interview time, whether it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. He's going to get them in, okay? Because these are the points he wants to drive home. There's some things you don't hear, in part because Donald Trump never talks about them. Also in part because he's never asked about them. Enter Dr. Phil. Now, like I said, there are things in this interview, and the interview, by the way, runs a little over an hour and 10 minutes. Okay, so I mean, it's not like, 5-second soundbite here, a 20-second soundbite there. No, they get into some pretty, there's some questions asked and some answers given. They are fleshing out some stuff, particularly Trump and also Dr. Phil, to his credit. So yeah, there are some standard things that you hear from Donald Trump in this interview, but there's some answers that he gives that I think are rather surprising, and they show a different side to Trump. Now, I'm not trying to, people are going to accuse me of this all the time. Oh, you're just sucking up to Trump. You want him to win. No. I mean, look, I'm trying to be an honest broker here. Okay. There are things in this interview that certain answers that Trump will give to questions, and it really does something that I don't think has been done a lot, or maybe Trump doesn't let happen. Maybe that's the better way of saying it. That Trump doesn't let happen in an interview, and as they see the non-politician side of him. They see Donald Trump, the man, in some of these answers, more so than the political salesman or the showman or the whatever else we've expected Donald Trump to be over this past really 50 years in public life. Okay. As I said, the interview lasted over an hour, and I kept thinking through that, could Joe Biden possibly go an hour with somebody? An hour of just unscripted, I don't know what they're going to ask me, shooting from the hip kind of questions. Now, I think most people know the answer to that question. They couldn't do it. I mean, even Trump comments on that during the interview at some point. So they went a little over an hour. They did it down at Mar-a-Lago. And I tell you what, you know that we have hit a hyper-partisan era of American politics when Dr. Phil is getting blowback for this interview. And we're going to play a clip here in a minute to show you just how much some people didn't want this interview to get out. But let's go to some of the clips. And everybody kind of remembers how Dr. Phil, I won't say got his start, but got his public recognition, his association with Oprah. So one of the first things I guess they get into a discussion of, or Trump gets into a discussion of, is his relationship with Oprah Winfrey. So, as always, tell me if I got a problem with somebody give me a sound check when I start playing this clip. Just let me know that we're okay. But here's Donald Trump on his relationship with Oprah Winfrey. I don't know what it is. I click that. I swear to you guys, I clip that thing every time. And I don't know why it does this to me. Ugh. So frustrating. Hang on. Let's try this again. Okay. I'm going to have a talk with my producer, Smokey Jones, about this. Okay. All right, guys. Let's try this again from the top. Again, give me a sound check. Let me know what's going on. But anyway, Donald Trump on his relationship with Oprah Winfrey and where exactly it stands today.
And Oprah used to really like me. She was here many times. Yeah. She loved my key lime pie. We have key lime pie, and she loved a lot of things about Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. And Roger King, as you know.
Yeah, we were here for the funeral for Roger King.
Correct, a long time ago. It's the only funeral we've ever had at Mar-a-Lago. I said, maybe we can do a new business here. Yeah. We'll operate as a funeral parlor. But it was one of the most beautiful funerals in the ballroom behind us. And he was a great guy. And Oprah's terrific. But once I announced I was running and I said, we have to have strong borders, we have to have this, we have to have that, we've sort of lost contact, as the expression goes.
So there you go. There's a country song that I'm very fond of, and the title of it is You Find Out Who Your Friends Are. I will never forget the story that's told about Trump just before he came down the escalator in 2015. And the story goes like this. He turned to his son, Don Jr., and just before he stepped on the escalator, he said, well, now we're going to find out who our friends are. I don't know if Donald Trump Jr. understood the significance of that comment, but it didn't take him long to figure it out. But yeah, used to be real good friends with Oprah. Trump used to be real good friends with a lot of people. Not so much anymore. I have been thinking about going over to OBS for some time now. I think about it, but OBS just scares me to death. Just seems way too techie for my taste. But anyway, well, this could be true too. Could be true. Anyway, now like I said, there are some things in this interview that, you would expect Donald Trump to do or say. For example, he gets into a discussion of Adam Schiff, the congressman from California who spent quite a bit of time trying to take Donald Trump down. And this segment, you kind of get the feeling that Trump's being the political showman. So anyway, do me a favor, folks. Check this out. Tell me what you think, and we'll play it here in just 1 second.
These are not stupid people. I call him Watermelon Head. He's got the thinnest neck I've ever seen. How it holds up that head. He's got a neck that's about a size 6. Very unattractive guy, both inside and outside. And people say, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. That's okay. Very unattractive guy. Here's the thing. These are bad people. And
Watermelon Head? You know, sometimes Trump's nicknames hit and miss. I will say that much. Goodness. Now, the next clip and the next set of clips I'm going to play get to a question of getting a little bit more personal when it comes to Trump. Now, this clip I'm about to play next gets toward the end of the interview. Like I said, it runs about an hour, maybe 10 minutes, or give or take. And they get into a discussion of, you know, everything that Trump is going through. How is it affecting him personally? And then Dr. Phil opens it up and says, well, you know, well, I'll just let this play and let you hear it for itself. It runs for a minute or so, but it's worth every bit of it. So do me a favor and check this out, and then let's talk about it. Oh, now you start doing this. Really? Really? Hang on, folks. Sorry about this. Well, we'll come back to you here in just 1 second, my friend. Okay, sorry about this, folks. I'll see if I can get that fixed. But yeah, like I said, we will. Yeah. OBS is techie, but maybe it's about time for me to have to switch over. Anywho, there are some other clips that I've got here, and this one I want you guys to hear. I'm just going to let it play, and then we can talk about it.
Of yours, you've taken every shot you can imagine. You've been criticized, attacked, called every name in the book. They've turned the judicial system against you, the intelligence community. 51 intelligence officers swear that this is a Russian plant, this laptop over here, right before the election. The media has turned against you, print, TV, radio, internet, in the streets. Not campaigning Donald Trump, just real Donald Trump. How do you deal with that stress in your most private moments?
Now, this answer really is kind of surprising because personally, I don't think I've ever heard Trump ask this question. And more particularly, I don't think I've ever heard him give this answer. So let's hear what he's got to say.
So, 2 things. Number 1, I don't like thinking about it. Out of sight, out of mind. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I don't want to think about it. Number 2, I have tremendous support. I have the people's support. I think if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to handle it so easily. When a judge who has conflicts like nobody's ever had wants to put me in jail, when he puts a gag order and say, if you talk about these things, we're going to put you in jail. And I'm the Republican candidate. I was president. I'm leading the Democrat by a lot. He wants to put me in jail. I like not to think about it.
I'll tell you what, if that is true, that's how he deals with it. I don't know. I mean, look, and I'm not trying to suck up when I say this either. I don't know that I'd have the discipline to be able to be like that. I really don't. I don't think
they have. If we call they the bad guy.
Hold it. I don't think I'd have the discipline to be able to handle that. Just to kind of like put it out of my mind and be like, nope, we're moving forward. I've had the opportunity to hear speeches from great leaders over the years, regardless of whether they were in the field of politics or religion or business or what have you. There is a part of people like that they're just so narrowly focused that they just like, they can tune everything else out. Here's my goal. It's right ahead of me, and I'm going to go get it. Trump is apparently one of those kind of people. And it really was an amazing answer. Okay, I think I've got it fixed, that one clip I wanted to play for you guys. And this one gets kind of personal as well. I was kind of surprised when he got into this. I really was. And let me just go ahead and pull this one up, let it run, and you guys tell me what you think.
Same person.
We all have a personal truth. Is that what we believe about ourselves when we don't have our mask on, when we don't, I put on a nice suit. I'm going to see the president here.
Nice suit.
I want to be credible.
Looks good.
And we, we put our best foot forward when we step out into the world. But we do have a personal truth, that what we believe about ourselves, at our most vulnerable, when nobody's looking, nobody's listening. Maybe it's 3 o'clock in the morning, we wake up looking at the ceiling, thinking, what the hell am I doing? What do you say to yourselves when the crowds aren't cheering? When you're home alone, you're riding in the car, you're by yourself. What is the hardest, darkest moment that you can think of in this journey you've been on the last several years?
You have to be very strong. You're fighting off very evil forces, and they're very smart forces. There are people that control Biden, totally true. I think I know who they are largely. But there are people that control him. They're very smart, very energetic. Possibly they're real believers, what their sick ideology is. But you have to be smart, and you have to have confidence. I mean, you have to have a certain confidence. The other thing is, I realize over the years, I've been through a lot, great and bad. I won the presidency. Everybody said, how are you going to do? How good is that? It was the most incredible evening, one of the most incredible evenings in the history of the country. Look at the celebration. I mean, it was incredible. But you also go through bad. I also I understand fully that the bad also disappears. In other words, you'll go through bad moments and it disappears. It's sort of funny because I've watched your show a lot over the years. See, I'm not ashamed to say it, because some people say, oh, you watch Dr. Phil. Well, your show is a very smart show. And I've watched you ask a question similar to that to some couple or and they break down, they start crying on the show. I said, that's never happening to me. If that happens to me, that's the end of my political career. I think maybe people would like me better. But I'll tell you what, you need strength. You have to have strength. And people don't want to see that. I've watched so many people, you break down people, they don't even know they're being broken down. But it's different.
Well, that's the last thing I want to do with you, but I do want people to know you. I want people to know every aspect of you, and I know it about myself. I know that not every time is a great day. Not every time is a hard day.
I thought you led a charmed life. You never had a problem in your life, right?
Yeah. I watched you during that trial. That's not a fun time.
It was an icebox. That courtroom was so cold.
Really?
And I believe it was set that way by the judge. That courtroom was freezing. I'd call it the icebox, right? I say, I just sat through 4 hours, and I'm not campaigning by doing that. That's what angered me. They're taking away my voice. They're keeping me in this icebox, and they're taking away my voice. But, one thing you bring it up, and you haven't asked me the question yet, and I'm sure you will, although I know we've been doing this for quite a while, and it's an honor to do it. But the hardest part for me is probably my family, because it's very unfair to my family. I have a very good wife. She reads this crap. I have great kids. You know what amazed me? I gave up my salary. I didn't take salary. And it's $450,000, approximately $450,000 a year. So, it's still money. It's a couple of $1 million. I never had a good story saying I did. I'm not looking for a story. What surprised me is there was a couple of stories. Who else did it? Nobody. Everybody took. I figured maybe Kennedy. It's a pretty rich family. I figured the only one that may have done it was George Washington. You know, George Washington was a very wealthy landowner. Mm-hmm. And they said the only one that may have done it is George Washington. I figured Roosevelt, maybe FDR. You know, there were some pretty rich presidents. Every president took their salary. Bush's took their salary. I didn't take my salary. I gave it up. And every month, I'd get a call from the fake news. Because, you know, you can't really give it up. You have to give it to an organization within government. You're not allowed to actually give it. So what happens? You get the check, and then you give it to Health and Human Services, or you give it to the Navy, or you give it to the Army, or something. And every month they say, did you give it? Did he give it? And when you show them that you gave it, there was no story. And it was just interesting to see. The whole system is rigged. I mean, it's just a nasty system. But the saddest is, I'll give you one quick example. I have a son, Don. He's a good kid. And he wants to help people. And they said he was involved with Russia. He knows less about Russia than that young person sitting right over there, who I'm sure knows nothing about Russia. And it was Adam Shifty Schiff, a bad guy. And he comes out of a so-called intelligence meeting, and he goes to a microphone, and there's a lot of press gathered, because this was during the Russia hoax, total hoax. It had nothing to do. 5 million phone calls. I had not one phone call to Russia. It was a hoax, and it came out that way, and it's nice, but it took 2.5 years. And by the way, it was very dangerous, because at least Putin understood it was a hoax. You know, he used to say, he thought we were crazy, to be honest with you. He thought we were crazy. But Don, so they'd say, Adam Schiff comes out and says, Donald Trump Jr. will go to jail because of what he's done with Russia. And it was Adam Schiff and Hillary Clinton and some others in the DNC that they made up a story. Think of how bad you have to be. You make up a phony story about Russia, the Russia hoax. You have the dossier, you have the whole thing. It's all fake. They paid $12 million or something for the dossier. $12 million. They gave this guy Steele a fortune to do a fake story. It's called the fake dossier, right? Mm-hmm. They go to my son. They know it's fake. It's not like they think it's real. They know it's a fake because they made it up. And they say, Donald Trump Jr. will go to jail. So I call up my son. I said, are you okay? Is there something I don't know? How bad do you have to be when you can say about a story that you made up that you know is fake, that my son is going to go to jail because of the story?
How do you deal with that as a father? Because I've had it happen to me. You've met Jordan.
Yes.
And my other son, Jay. I've had stories about them, and it infuriates me.
I called him up. I knew it wasn't true, but I said, hey, this guy, these are not stupid people. I call him Watermelon Head. He's got the thinnest neck I've ever seen, how it holds up that head. He's got a neck that's about a size 6. Very unattractive guy, both inside and outside. And people say, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. It's okay. Very unattractive guy. Here's the thing. These are bad people. And it's not easy to deal with. You know, when you have your kids involved or your family, your wife, and you read stuff, and most of it is untrue. It's just totally untrue. But think of that. They make up a story, and then they say your son's going to jail for something that they know is false. These are bad people.
Is that harder to take than when they're talking about you?
Yeah, for me it is. For me, I've become different. Maybe it would have been tougher. I think the fact that I have such unbelievable support helps me a lot. It doesn't bother me.
Has it bothered you? Has there been blowback on Barron because he's younger and more vulnerable?
It's not easy. And he's a great kid. He's a good student. He's, got accepted to different colleges. He's got some of those colleges, all of a sudden they're rioting all over the place. You're saying, but he's a good boy. He's a tall boy. Very tall. He's very tall. And he's a great kid. He's a good looking kid. And, he's going to be going to college. But he doesn't say it.
What? You're kidding me. You're kidding. Now, I believe you guys, but I'm like, we're just watching the interview. We're having reactions to it. Oh my God. Okay, fine. For everybody that's currently on YouTube right now that's watching this, we're going to Rumble here in about 60 seconds, okay? So be advised, we're going to go over to Rumble and we'll finish this over there, since apparently YouTube cannot understand why it is that I'm trying to show something in context. So yeah, here in about 30 more seconds, we're going strictly over to Rumble and Twitter for the rest of this. For policy violations, Zippy says over on Rumble. What policy violation? What? This I can't wait to see. I cannot wait to see the email for this one. Okay, I know that this clip ran a little bit long, and that's partially my fault because I didn't quite remember where it was I wanted to restart this. But on the other hand, this is being done in context. Okay? So, okay, YouTube, you want to play this game? Fine. In about 15 more seconds, we're going over to Rumble for the rest of the day, and screw you. Screw you and your policies. Okay, at least on Rumble, we can have free speech. So anybody that's currently on YouTube right now, we're going over to Rumble in about 10 seconds, okay? About 5 more. So go ahead and over the Rumble channel. Go over to, stay on Rumble, TBA. Do not come over to YouTube because we're going over there in 3, 2, 1.